Tuesday morning, 7th day of January. And as much as work officially is back on, there are still some of those who are trying to shake off the holiday fever. By now, you should have shaken off all of it, especially when you think about the bills you need to pay. Schools resumed, so school fees business is back in vogue. That means no more holidays for anyone. With that said, politically, it's also been very hot, regardless of the holidays. You know what it is in the political climate of this country. It does not respect Christmas or New Year, Yuletide, Easter, Salad. It doesn't. I mean, these events come every single time. And most recently is the resurfacing of the High Court judgment that empowered the governor to proceed with legislative activities involving 3-member Rivers State House of Assembly. And according to this particular lawyer who was responding to the High Court judgment, he was quoting Section 109, subsection 1G, which talked about defection and how you lose your seat and so on and so forth. Now, if you go back to 2023, you would know that this particular issue has been on from that time towards the end of 2023 up until 2024. And now we are in 2025. The 27 lawmakers and the remaining others who now have been recognized by the Rivers State government as the authentic members of the State Assembly led by the Speaker of the House, Okojumbo. Well, the Court of Appeal and the Federal High Court had ruled. Now, there are matters before the court to also talk about the authenticity of the lawmakers led by Martin Amenwule, who also now have a parallel house that they also run their activities. And all of that have brought about questions. Now, the Rivers State High Court ruled that the governor is legally empowered to transact business with 3 lawmakers who have not vacated their seats in the State House of Assembly. It was contained in a court decision that was given on the 20th of December 2024 by the presiding judge, Justice Sika Aprioku, who dismissed a suit seeking to compel the governor to represent the 2024 budget to the Martin Amenwule-led assembly. Now, the suit was filed by the registered trustees of the Association of Legislative Drafting and Advocacy Practitioners and had the government of Rivers State, the governor of the state, and the Attorney General of the state as defendants. Anyways, before I go on with any further details, let me quickly introduce my guest to you. He was a member of the National Assembly, the Green Chambers, to be precise, Honorable Bernard Mikko. Sir, you're welcome, and thank you for joining us. I would like to add Happy New Year.
Thank you very much, Ifemi, and Happy New Year to Rivers people.
All right. Where do we start? There's been plenty ongoing in the state in recent times, but your expertise as a lawmaker, they say once a lawmaker, always a lawmaker, perhaps would help us dissect this issue and educate Rivers people. And at the end of the day, everybody will still end up making their decision on what they want to choose or not. But let's put out some of the facts. The situation at the State Assembly now. The Rivers State government has recognized and is working with the Okojumbo-led assembly. The budget for 2024 was presented to them. The budget for 2025 has been presented to them, regardless of what everybody else has said. Judgment that I've said, go and represent the budget to the Amenwule-led members. Many have held on to that to say, well, why did the governor obey that and this and that? At the moment in the House, following what we saw on television with Martin Amenwule and the others at the time, making that announcement to the APC, even though now they have said that they did not leave the PDP to the APC and even went to court to get a judgment that says they did not leave. Many have looked at that and said, this is the beginning of our problem. As a lawmaker, what do you make of that situation? Because the argument now, even at the 2025 New Year luncheon that the FCT minister had, he also recognized them as speaker, and even he recognized some of the former council chairmen as council chairman. The bone of contention is, what is the modus operandi of the House, and how does it work around this particular kind of circumstance? Do you need to go to local government and get party card before you are now a member of the party? Or is it enough that the moment you make a pronouncement on the floor of the House, you cease to be a member of the House, looking at your defection from the party that brought you to that House? What's your view? Tell us from your perspective as a lawmaker.
Yes, Ifeimi, thank you very much. I think the conversation you are having in the media space is an attempt to bring people who have resigned and left the assembly back to limelight. It's a class suicide. With due respect to the former governor of Rivers State, now FCT minister, he has said it on many occasions publicly, and you have it in your archives, that once you are sponsored by a political party and you leave that party, you lose your seat. This is even supported by the section you quoted, section 109, subsection 1G of the Constitution, that once sponsored by a particular party, I think they made a big mistake, to have left. And with that mistake, they want to cure it by going through the back door, asking the governor to present budget to them so that it will show the kind of recognition as still members. Rivers State have taken this matter behind them, and the governor has correctly done so by presenting the budget to the existing members of the House. Even if they are two, that is the quorum. If they have died in a motor accident, you can't bring them back. These people are politically dead, and they cannot be brought back. So the issue of continuing this conversation, I think, is a distraction for Rivers.
Is it enough to say that the fact that on the floor of the House we had some of these lawmakers, 7 of them, write letters that was read and all of that? Does that amount to defection to another political party?
Look,
or how does the House interpret defection?
Defection is by proclamation. You stay on the assembly is a talk shop where you say whatever you say is being recorded. But they went beyond that, wrote letters, and even swear to an affidavit that they have left. So what else do you want to hear?
They said they don't have any party cards. They did not register.
No, they did not.
The APC said they are not its members.
That is neither here nor there. Once you stay on the floor of the House, say you have left the political party that sponsored you, and the Speaker gives effect to that instance by declaring your seat vacant, you have left. Nothing else you can do. The courts cannot make a pronouncement on it, and you cannot get payment from that decision. The best thing you can do is to go back to your constituency, get sponsored by another political party and recontest and win your seat. Nothing more than that. You don't need to go and swear any affidavit. You don't need to do any other thing. All you need to do is to stand up on the floor of the House and declare that you have left. You have resigned from your political party. Then you have left.
Have we had this situation before? I'm trying to recall whether we've had something similar to this where we have 5 members or less run the assembly of the state. Because if that's the case, the question would be, I think perhaps we've had in the past, but the conversation now is, what does this imply for the other constituents who are not then now well represented at the state assembly? Because it would mean that when laws are being made that are supposed to also look at their interest, it might not be covered. Can we practically say, all right, in this situation, well, the interest of other constituents who might not be well represented on the floor of the House is being looked at? Because it's another argument that many Rivers people who do not want to share that opinion have to make.
Well, if you look at the history of democracy itself as propounded by Socrates, it's supposed to be government of the people. While you represent, there is direct democracy, there is indirect democracy. It started from the small city-states in 4th century BC, before Christ was born, where people citizens gather at the town square, and they take decisions on matters that concern matters of war, matters of taxation, matters of representation, and all that. But when the cities start to grow, people begin to represent people. Say, look, we are too large to converge in a place. They say, okay, in this number of area, in this territory, 1 person or 2 will go and represent our people. So in a situation where those people fail to represent either by death or any other circumstance, or they withdraw. The people will directly represent themselves through consensus, and that is exactly what is happening in the other 27 constituencies. You have stakeholders that send those people there, and they've been interacting with they can interact with the state government to put in things in the budget, to say what they want through their local government chairman, through their traditional rulers, and even directly by text messages in this age of social media, that this is exactly, and that is how budget, can be computed in all the local government areas where they don't have a
quite interesting now that you made this revelation, because there are those that would say, well, who is adequately representing us? So from what you just said, if in the absence of these lawmakers, stakeholders from those constituencies can do the job,
can directly represent themselves. You look at the issue of referendum. If politicians are not being trusted, to take on issues that concerns the generality of the public, they can call for a referendum. It has happened before. Even in the Brexit, they didn't allow members of parliament, to vote. They call the generality of every elector, every voter can come out and vote in a referendum. So this is a referendum on our people and those lawmakers. For this, because they never consulted anybody before leaving. When they were contesting this election, they are canvassing for vote. But when they left, they were relying on the Janus, this goddess of opportunity that January was named after, the Roman goddess, who they think can open gates for them, can see back and front, and they relied on the Janus to tell them the way forward and even the way backward. But of course, God knows it all. God wanted Rivers State to be liberated, and they fell into this trap which they set for themselves. This was not a push factor. This was a pull factor by themselves. And I see no reason why anybody will go to court. And from what you read here, it says registered trustee of the Association of Legislative Drafting and Advocacy Practitioners went to court. Do they have locus to go to court? These are questions who must ask. And we, as a forum of former lawmakers in Rivers State, will be compelled to find out why they went to court, taking their employees. This is against the civil service rules, and we are studying the case to see how we can take them to court and compel the head of service or the chairman of Assembly Service Commission to take disciplinary actions against them and expel them, because these are the black leg in the system. I see no reason why this is not an industrial matter. It's not a labor trade union matter.
Civil servants,
take the same organization, the same your employer to court. It has never happened before. If the state government is tolerating it, we the citizens, we former members, will approach the court to see how we can test so that it doesn't happen again. It's a distraction.
There was something that the judge said, before we come back to this, just to digress a bit because of the very limited time we have for a commercial. The Judge Apreku, referenced previous instances. He said there were previous instances, including under the immediate past governor of Rivers State, who is now the FCT minister, where business at the assembly was conducted with fewer than the full legislative numbers. And he was referring to at the time where the FCT minister, as governor, presented budgets and financial bills with only 6 members, when the members were less than 2/3 of the 32 members of the House. And he was saying, well, if that's the case, you can't say that the governor now of Rivers State is constitutionally guided to interface and approach properly. My question is, can we compare this situation to that situation?
Well, I think yes, they can be compared. But in this case, they have resigned willingly. The case you are comparing, I don't know whether they resigned or not. I didn't hear much about. But I saw these members, with APC flag against Section 109, subsection 1G, which you quoted in the Constitution. You see, for them to have done that, which means that they have left the House, and the Speaker gave effect to it by declaring their seats vacant. So they have no business. This is a class suicide. They have no business being referred to, as members of a Rivers State House of Assembly. I think the best thing, as I've advised before, to avoid these distractions and conversation, they can go back since December. They would have gone back, and I understand that the chairman of the PDP that sponsored them have also written.
Yes.
Let them go back and contest the election, and most of them are still very popular. They can win the elections and come back so that the business of representation,
we'll continue.
We continue.
We'll go for a commercial now. 8. The morning crossfire continues. Honorable Bernard Mikko is with me in the studio, former member of the National House of Representatives. Upper State, and we would take a few messages. On Facebook, we are streaming live at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. So you can join the conversation if you haven't. For those of us who feel you're not getting good signal where you are, or it's difficult for you to listen in with your radio, you can watch live on Facebook at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. Don't forget that. On YouTube, Nigeria Info PH. So now go in, join the conversation, and let's get your comments. There's still one more question I would ask my guest, and that's the same question I would be asking you. I've already asked whether the lawmakers presently, at the numbers that they are, would be able to carry out assembly businesses and make laws that would affect the other constituents that are not represented. And my guest has given his view and position on that, and on other ways via which those areas are also taking recognition of by members of the House, even though those that are supposed to represent them on the floor of the House are absent. We would come to why there's a delay on the part of INEC. But what's even much more pressing is why there's a delay on the part of the courts to settle this matter that concerns the Rivers House of Assembly once and for all, by letting us know who is still a lawmaker, who is not. Because for me, looking at the drama that's playing out, I'm saying today the court says go and present to the Matamewule house. That was the judgment that had come from a high court in Abuja, if I remember correctly. And all of that, I said, okay, all of this. There are those and ask, so what about the position of who is still a member, who defect, who did not defect? Why is it taking long for us to have a distinct position of the court on this, so that everybody now know on what side of the divide to stand, rather than this situation we're in where people are given the room to argue over these things when the court can settle it?
You know, the court are not people from heaven or from the outer space. These are lawyers recruited from the bar to the bench, with the nuances in culture, in values, and even in characteristics. So you have seen judgments. People have been condemned to death and even killed, and years after, they found out that the court took a wrong decision. Even in science, we were taught that an atom is the smallest particle of an element. Yes. We now know that atoms can be divided into neutrons, protons, and electrons. Yes. So they are not infallible. They make their mistakes based on their judgment as at the time. You know, justice can be perverse in so many ways. You know, these are political decisions. When houses are being built for some members of some judicial officers, and cars are being bought, and openly so. So what do you expect? Some of these judges will act according to their whims and caprices.
For those cars and houses, they say there are provisions of law that enables the executive arm of government to sometimes make those provisions, isn't there?
The judiciary and the courts are independent arm of government. There are three arms of government. The National Assembly builds their own houses. They take care of their own overhead. You know, the executive do so. Why is it that if they should have made appropriations? The executive would have made appropriations, allocations to the judiciary,
rather than gifting.
Yes, rather than making it personal. I built house for this one. You see, this is public money. It's public finance. So no governor or no president can say that he built house for judges. Put it in their budget. Let them decide what they want to do with it, so that they don't use it as subject of blackmail as we are seeing today. I'm sure they will be very careful in future in dealing with such issues.
All right. Now let's go to the phone lines. I'm sure the conversation, lots of the listeners been following and would have quite a lot to say on Facebook. Christian Yemachi says circumstances at the moment demand such actions. Hence, the state needs to move forward pending reaction of electoral empire. Godwin Agwanwo says, the honorable guest in the studio, concerning this matter, of course, yes, they are poised to make laws for the various constituencies. Since INEC doesn't want to conduct by-elections to fill the vacant seats, right now, the court ruling has made it clear that the governor can transact business with the Okojumbo-led assembly. So no need to talk too much concerning this matter. Thank God Ability says the question we should ask ourselves is, what did the Constitution say about defection of assembly members? Caleb says the appeal court had held that the Matamemole-led Rivers House of Assembly is a legally recognized state assembly. The governor, for me, is acting in tyranny. He doesn't obey the law. How can the state high court give a counter judgment against the appeal court? This is abuse of court process. Joel says on Facebook, why did some people just decide to deceive themselves? Is there any law that is self-executed without the pronouncement of judges? It is very unfortunate. Even people we think they're educated will tell us that immediately you say you defect from one party to another, the floor of the assembly, you have lost your seat. Now, this point raised by Joel, I think before I go to the phone lines, it just raised something important I need you to respond to. I've also asked the question, if the Constitution says if somebody steals, this is the punishment, why then is it that when the person then steals, we will now say, let's first of all go to the court to interpret what the Constitution has said that should be the punishment? In this case, if a person does this, your seat should be vacant. Should it be that the letters of the Constitution be first obeyed before anybody goes to court to find alternatives? Why? Because we have people with different interpretations around how this things work.
Section 4 of the Constitution is clear. Once any other matter is inconsistent with the Constitution is supreme. And I would like to quote again the former governor of Rivers State, that said that once you decamp or leave the political party that sponsored you, and this is being buttressed by Section 109 subsection 1G, that once you leave the party, the only person that can put that into can activate that clause is the speaker. So
that's the question I'm asking. This is what the Constitution says, but amongst many other things that the Constitution of the Federal Republic also have said in different other situations beyond even what's happening at the Assembly. But we have situations where people fall short of the law, and then rather than what the Constitution says should be a punishment or a reproof or whatever it should be for that situation, we will now say, let us not obey it first. Let us first go to the court and let the court now tell us whether this thing we should obey. So if we have to go to the court first to interpret before we obey what was written, shouldn't it be a situation where you first of all implement what the Constitution has said about that situation before you then want to go to the court to appeal it, if you think that what happened isn't fair?
You go to court for matters of interpretation of the Constitution. The clauses in section 109 subsection 1G is clear, and the former governor, now FCT minister, has made this very clearly, and they have it on YouTube, they have it on social media, that once you leave, so to beginning to
so it's supposed to be an immediate thing.
It kicks in.
You're saying the moment the Speaker of the House receive your letter and they declare your seat vacant,
you don't need
everybody leaves.
No, that's all.
There's no point to say let's go to the court first.
Go to church, go to the mother of the governor or the father of the speaker. No. You don't need all that.
So it's supposed to be immediate. Activated.
Activated
after the activation, that's when you can go to court?
Yes. No, you don't even need to do another election.
Because of the process provided for.
Yes, let's hear it. You see, you know that these are people elected by their people. They are representatives. And once you resign, and you have left the assembly, you can go back to seek. This is second. Some of these are second term. So what stops them from going to seek another term? You know, that we made a mistake. We resigned on principle. This is what they thought. This is what is happening. We have left, and we want to come back. They'll be elected. They are known.
Honorable Lawmaker, saying it with words now, it sounds very straightforward. This is how it should be when you do this, do that. But then when you put it in the context of Nigerian politics, it's a different ball game.
We want to know if they are afraid to seek another mandate from the same people whom they know. They claim to be popular. If they are not, let them sit down in their houses. If they are, let them come for re-election.
But with all the arguments that they are making now about we did not defect, we are still members of the PDP, and even holding, and in fact, some would argue that, well, if they are not and they have defected, and constitutionally it means they are not lawmakers, why are they still allowed to sit? Why is it the state government taking some actions to stop that sitting wherever it is that they are holding it?
Look, if you look at section 10 of the Constitution that says that the state should not promote any particular religion. In Zamfara State, in 2023, 2024, they declared the Sharia courts. Yes. And of course, the president then, Obasanjo, ignored them and it fizzled out. So in some cases, you just...
In 2003.
Yes, 2003, yes. A state government proclaimed the Sharia court against the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That no state should promote a particular religion above the other. We are in a secular state. A secular nation. But the president then, when he was approached that this is unconstitutional, he said, look, forget them. So I think that is the position, the stance which the government have taken. Leave them, What makes it important is that when laws are made, the governor signs it. When the bills are passed, he signs it into law. The speaker cannot sign this into law, except where the governor has withheld assent. They don't get paid. So if they want to waste their time, enjoying themselves, creating content for social media, I think it's okay for them.
All right, let's open the phone lines quickly then. Christian says, who was the speaker before the defection of the 27th House Assembly? Because I know too well that Martins was still the speaker who then declared the seats vacant. It was another conversation. I remember vividly watching Martin Amewule read the letters on the floor of the House and all the proceedings that followed before they came out and made the announcement and held the flags and started singing and all of that stuff. But then there was also the conversation that the chief of staff now to the government, while he was also speaker for the short time he was, also wrote to INEC and said, well, these people seats are vacant, we should have a by-election. And there are many conversations around that. We're not going back to that history because we already know how all of that will play out. I want to open the phone lines now and let's hear what your thoughts are. This one says, letters of the Constitution is written in English and not Panyard. They are eligible enough and its meanings are clear enough. It's a pity that the courts are available for persons to keep denigrating the spirit of our ground norms. Make them they tried. Sukari Alex, that's from you. 0817-923-0007. 0817-923-0007. You can also call 0817-923-0002. 0817-923-0002. She stands. The River State government has been okayed. Even though before that judgment, the governor had said, well, this is the recognized House of Assembly, and that's the one we are working with, led by Oko Jumbo. It's also interesting to note that this particular judgment that is trending now on social media was not something that came up this year. It had been there sometime last year, I think around November, ending December, sometime around that period. That's when it's been there. Now, with that, it seemed to many people are saying, well, there's even a confirmation that, well, the governor can work with this house, especially with the passing of the budget that brought up plenty of conversations. Tell us your name and let us know your concerns. The 3-member house, they've said, well, they're authentic and the government can work with them. Are they positioned to handle the business of lawmaking that would influence?
To the 3-member of assembly.
What's your name, please?
I am with Martins Amewule, and they are the right assembly that Rivers people know, that I know, and my constituency know. Because my constituency representative in Rivers State House of Assembly, being Honorable Frank Wabochi, he has not called us to say that he has defected and he has lost his seat. So everything your guest in the studio is saying, he's just trying to favor the government of the day because he's a supporter of the government of the day. For me, who declared the seat of the 27 members, Rivers State House of Assembly member vacant? Edison Ehie that was already suspended by Martins-led assembly. I think the whole brouhaha is just revolving around the governor trying to make a point. And the court that made a statement yesterday to say that the governor can work with the 3-man House of Assembly. I want to ask, are they now superseding the appeal court who have earlier stated that the governor should represent the budget of the Martins-led this assembly? I think the whole problem is being orchestrated by the governor, and he should desist from it before setting River State on fire. Thank you.
All right, JJ from Rumigbo, good morning.
Yeah, Andrew, good morning, and I greet your guests in the studio. I think people should know that the case of Justice Aporoko is different from the one already at the appeal court and Supreme Court. If they know this, it will help everybody. Not that, what was the case that the court, the appeal asked the governor to represent the budget? And what is the case presently that has been, that judgment has been given? I think we need to know this at the end of the day. So if your people are defected and they brought the issue of defection and the judge said, look, the legitimate people are these three men, so shall it be. After all, we had an issue here when the appeal court canceled some elections and asked them to do elections in 90 days. You have 9 members remaining in the House of Assembly. 2 were suspended. You have Victoria Yenche suspended, and you have one Anabraba not being sworn in. And 7 of them did the budget, 18 judge did everything. Who challenged them at the end of the day? So when they talk about, they have to suspend them so that they don't have a quorum and all those, what was the quorum as at that time? So for me, the government is carried.
All right, JJ, thank you very much.
And the record for development of the people.
I think 2 things that my guest will respond to, we'll take a few more calls, would be if we can note the quorum, and then the first caller also talking about representative of their constituency. Emeka Inelele, good morning, saying that the representative did not come to meet them or tell them that it was defected. So perhaps we'll get your response to that as well. Emeka, good morning.
Yes, my dear brother, good morning. Yes, my name is Emeka from Alimini. This defection is a constitutional matter. I knew last year that a competent court confirmed Edison Eje as the authentic speaker and ordered him for him to pass the budget of 2024. It is a constitutional matter. They have defected to APC. We saw them on the social media, on Arise Television, AIT, NTA, with the APC flag. And they also went to President Tinubu. Tinubu is a witness. And they also told Tinubu that they have defected. And they asked him within years that he cannot chase any children that want to come to him. The same people came down to River State. Antonio Kucha left a caretaker committee chairman. Also received them. What are they dragging? They have lost their seat. Martin Amewule and his own friend in Nemo local government, where I came from. We don't have assemblymen again. No. Thank you. God bless you.
All right, thank you very much. Even though Chief Tony Okocha said they did not defect, they did not welcome them. He was trying to woo them. That was, if I'm pretty sure, the words he used exactly. Chima and Rimo Kuta, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Ifemi.
Yep.
And I also greet your guest at the studio there.
Thank you very much and Happy New Year.
The rhetoric about this defection is getting out of hand. But I want to make your guest understand that we are living in an environment whereby we are being bound by the rule of law. And the section of the law that said that do not be too high, for the law is above you. Now, if you're saying that you can just enforce a law because you feel that it is enshrined in the Constitution, you are taking law over your hand because the other person won't agree. That is why you see us go for an interpretation. And the issue here is that we are diverse people with diverse thinking. So the way you see it might not be the way I speak it. So the law have to interpret. So the reason of going to the court for us to have an interpretation is very, very necessary. Then the aspect of a court ruling that Edison here was the speaker, that's the Supreme Appeal Court judgment that said the High Court lacks jurisdiction to entertain assembly matter. It was written, it is explicitly stated. So now what are we talking about now? Is there any other court, even from the Supreme Appeal Court, that has nullified the seat of the 27 lawmakers? If there is, let him bring it up to me so that I will see and I will rest my case on that issue. Then the other court again, the lower court that ruled that he can do business with the 3-man committee. That's what we're talking about right here now. If we say the court is being by heart in one way or the other, you will say we are shouting out of nothing. But how with a court with his own magnanimity, we understand that a higher court above him is handling a matter of such and still pass a judgment. Now, what are we talking about? It's not democracy, my brother. It's not comment of the people.
All right, Chima, thank you. Let's go to Peter. I know you go quickly.
One section of the person are crying that we are not fully represented, and you are thinking that you're doing a fair thing.
Peter, I know you go. Oh, we lost the call from Peter. Plenty of messages we've taken on Facebook as well. So if we could take one more call before we wrap up in a couple of seconds left. Okay, we still have a bit of time here. 0817-923-0007. 0817-923-0007. Mufasa from NTA Road. It's over to you now. Good morning, Mufasa.
Yeah, hi, Andrew. Good morning. Good morning to your guest.
Good morning, my
Well,
dear.
Andrew, there's a popular saying that you cannot eat your cake and have it. Initially, when the issue of defection came, if you could still remember, even the lawmakers themselves, the former lawmakers themselves and their, supporters, were saying that there was an issue in the PDP, and they were even arguing with Section 109. And then, they were not denying the fact that they defected. It was later when they realized the consequences of their actions. They know for a fact that what they did has indeed cost them their seat in the House. That was when they later came back to say they never defected. So they themselves, they know from the get-go that they have made a terrible mistake. So for me, there is no point going back and forth. Like what your guest has already said, the provisions of the Constitution in Section 109 says they shall. He said you shall lose your seat. He did not say you must go to court. He said you shall lose your seat the moment you defect without any cogent reason. And the party, being the PDP, has come out to say that there was no division in our party. So what are we talking about? They have moved on. They should go and prepare for another election. The three members that we have currently, they are doing a good job helping the state to move forward. So let us not be dilly-dallying in the home. In fact, I'm even angry that the court does not even want to set a precedent, because whatever comes out from this particular issue is going to be a precedent in the entire country. So
all right,
when
Mufasa.
you move from one seat to another, when you have been elected by a party, you will know that there will be consequences.
All right, thank you, Mufasa. Quickly, Honorable Mikko, let's get your response, especially to the first two callers and their positions. Does a lawmaker have to go hold a meeting with the constituents, inform them about his decision to want to defect?
No, they don't. You see, the moment you have been elected to the House, your business is business of governance. And like in the state, where one person, one Jonas, claimed he bought forms for all of them and wrote their results and put them in the House of Assembly, which means that the man who is calling that he wasn't consulted he is not taken as being of any substance.
Not considered in the equation.
Yes, he's not considered in the equation. The person which they considered is their godfather, it was the person they consulted, and they took action not on the behalf of their constituencies, on behalf of that person. And I want to add that since November or so, 2023, that they left the assembly. If they have immediately kicked in the process of recontesting the election after 90 days, they would have been back in there. Why dragging a matter which they know they are popular, they can still win election and come back to the House? Why drag it for over a year? I think my advice is that let the state have peace. Let them go back, seek the mandate. If it is PDP, they seek the mandate of, if they get the ticket of PDP, if it is APC, if it is Labour Party, and let us have peace in our state. Let them contest this election, and let us file behind the candidates and elect them and have a fresh start.
All right, well said. We'd have to wrap things up here and take a short commercial after now. Thank you very much again for your time, Honorable Bernard Mikko. Hopefully, when we call on you sometime in the future, you also make yourself available for us.
Thank you very much for me.
All right, have a wonderful,
thank you, Rivers people.
Wonderful day. And again, Happy New Year to you and the family. Oh, my name is Ifeami Andrew. A short commercial comes on now. Afterwards, we'll come back and take a few messages on WhatsApp. Jude already would be waiting at that time for Hello Port Harcourt. I'm not going to say too much about it because I'll tell you after the commercial. Stay with us.